I want you to picture a peace summit.
Okay.
But erase the image of stuffy boardrooms or sterile starship bridges. Picture a tropical paradise.
Oh, like a resort.
Yeah, exactly. You got white sand, crystal blue water. There's a triangular table set up specifically to symbolize equality among three very different factions.
Setting the stage for diplomacy.
Right. There are crystal glasses catching the sunlight, expensive wine, the works. A toast is raised to a new beginning.
Everyone drinks.
Everyone drinks. But then, instead of sealing the deal, one of the delegates just drops his glass.
Ow.
Yeah. He starts convulsing. His spine arches back in a way that anatomy just shouldn't allow.
Horrific.
And within seconds, he dies this horrific, frothing death right there on the beach.
Talk about a deal breaker.
Seriously.
But that striking image is exactly where the mission logs for today's deep dive begin.
It is.
We are unpacking the Tavrik Accord.
And usually when we do these deep dives into galactic history, we're looking at massive fleet maneuvers or grand political movements.
Right, the big picture stuff.
Exactly. But this isn't that. This is the story of one man, Commodore Stephen MacCaffery.
Who basically has 4 days to stop an entire sector from imploding.
Yeah, and he has to do it by being a detective, a lawyer, a military commander, and, weirdly enough, a dad, all at the same time.
It's such a fascinating case study because, well, MacCaffery doesn't have the luxury of overwhelming force here.
He really doesn't.
And we're working from a really interesting stack of sources for this one.
Right, we've got his official mission logs.
The legal briefs from the JAG Corps.
But also, and I think this is the real key to understanding the situation, his personal letters to his wife, Sidra, and his son, Will.
Those letters are what really hooked me.
Me too. You have these official reports where he's using all this, sterilized Starfleet language.
Things like sector stability and diplomatic overtures.
Exactly. And then you read the letter he wrote to Sidra that exact same night.
And he's talking about how the air on the planet tastes like sulfur.
And how he can't get the smell of rust out of his uniform. It completely grounds the whole thing.
It makes you realize that sector stability is really just code for trying to keep people alive.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
And to understand why he's even there, we really have to look at the setting.
Tavrik III.
Right. In the logs, MacCaffery keeps using one specific word to describe the planet.
Bruised.
A bruised world. He mentions a bruised sky and this orange mark of industry that just hangs over the horizon.
It creates such a vivid, oppressive picture.
It does. Now, this is a lost colony the Federation is trying to reintegrate.
The Kaldari?
Right. But they've been under the thumb of a trade guild called the Vethari for decades.
And looking at the economic reports in our source stack, the Vethari haven't exactly been benevolent overlords.
Far from it.
This is a classic, albeit brutal, example of economic strangulation.
Yeah. They don't just occupy the planet.
No, they own the logistics.
They control the shipping lanes.
Which means they set the prices for everything coming in and everything going out.
And the people living there, the Kaldari workers, are the ones paying the absolute ultimate price for that.
They're living in total industrial desperation.
There's this one visit MacCaffery makes to a place called Ashmark Landing.
The details there are grueling.
Just brutal. It's 50 degrees Celsius.
That's over 120 Fahrenheit.
And the workers are pulling 18-hour shifts.
Unbelievable.
He describes their skin as being ash gray.
But what really stands out in MacCaffery's notes is that he identifies this immediately as an engineered system.
Right. It's not accidental poverty.
Exactly. The Vetharis have calibrated the economy so precisely that the Kaldarians have to work themselves to death just to afford basic survival.
It's a cycle of debt and labor that's honestly harder to break than a physical chain.
And there's a moment in the logs that illustrates the human cost of that system so clearly.
Are you thinking of Meridian Station?
Yes. MacCaffery is there, and he finds out there are 147 children living on the station.
He meets this kid.
Maybe 11 years old.
Yeah, and the kid just looks at him and asks, "Are you here to stop the shouting?"
And MacCaffery tries to give him some standard comforting line.
But the kid just cuts him off and says, "They already started shooting, just not here."
That line is just devastating.
It really is. It shows a level of trauma that has completely normalized violence for a child.
And reading the letters to Sidra, you can see that's the moment the mission changes for MacCaffery.
Because Sidra is a fleet admiral.
Right. She understands the strategic value of the sector perfectly.
But MacCaffery writes to her saying he's not doing this for the map anymore.
He's seeing his own son, Will, in those 147 kids. He wants to save them.
So the stage is completely set. You have the Kaldari, represented by Governor Veln.
And reading his profile, Veln seems less like a diplomat and more like a walking open wound.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it.
Veln is what happens when you push a population right to the brink.
He's paranoid.
He's angry.
And frankly, he has every right to be. He literally takes MacCaffery to see the furnaces.
And essentially says, look at what we built and look at how we're dying for it.
He represents the raw, emotional demand for survival and justice.
And then on the complete opposite side of the spectrum, you have the Vethari Envoy.
Sella Tharn?
If Veln is fire and ash, Tharn is ice and calculation.
MacCaffery actually describes her as elegant, cold, and terrifyingly efficient.
Tharn is a terrifying antagonist precisely because she doesn't believe she's a villain.
Not at all. In her mind, she's just a superior economist.
There's a dinner scene on MacCaffery's ship, the Valley Forge.
This is where the conflict really crystallizes.
Exactly. She lays out her entire philosophy.
She tells him point blank, economics exists outside of morality.
She argues that starving the Kaldari isn't cruelty.
It's just market forces, like gravity.
Right. You don't get mad at the ocean for drowning you.
And you don't get mad at the Vethari for squeezing every credit out of a planet.
To her, efficiency is the only virtue that matters.
She even proves her point during the negotiations by just seizing a Kaldari ship.
The silken thread?
Yeah, the ship tried to sell ore to a different buyer, so she just confiscated it.
It's a pure power move. She's showing MacCaffery that she controls the monopoly.
The shipping bottleneck.
And that there's nothing he can do about it without starting a shooting war.
But this is the pivot. This is where MacCaffery gets really interesting.
Because a standard military commander might threaten to blow up her ship to get the silken thread back.
Right, but MacCaffery doesn't reach for a phaser?
He reaches for a clipboard?
Yes. He threatens her with a Federation trade audit.
Which is such a specific bureaucratic weapon.
Now, I have to be honest, when I first read that in the sources, it sounded like a threat to do her taxes. Why is this such a massive deal?
It sounds totally bureaucratic, doesn't it?
It really does.
But in a high-speed interstellar economy, a trade audit is a nuclear weapon.
How so?
The Vethari business model relies entirely on just-in-time logistics.
Okay.
They move massive volumes of goods on very, very thin margins. Speed is everything.
So he's not just threatening to look at their books.
No. A Federation trade audit allows him to freeze Vethari shipping across the entire sector for a standards review. He's threatening to decouple their logistics network. If their ships stop moving for 2 weeks, their contracts fail.
Their perishables rot.
Their cash flow dries up. In a system that tight, a pause isn't an annoyance.
It's an extinction event for their profit margin.
Exactly. It is brilliant asymmetric warfare.
He's using their own hyper-efficiency against them.
Yeah.
If they were less optimized, they could weather the delay.
But because they run so hot, the delay kills them.
And Tharn knows it.
She realizes immediately that MacCaffery isn't playing soldier.
He's playing economist.
And that threat is the only thing that forces her to agree to a summit.
Which brings us right back to that beach. The summit at Island Chain 7.
Known as the Lanterns.
Supposed to be neutral ground.
Although MacCaffery's security chief, Korev, takes one look and calls it a sniper's paradise.
And sure enough, before they even sit down, they find listening devices buried in the tree roots.
The Vethari had bugged the island months in advance.
Which is a clear violation of the ceasefire protocols.
But MacCaffery decides to proceed anyway.
He sets up that triangular table.
Symbolizing equality.
They pour the Tavrik nectar for the breath of welcome toast.
And that's when Councilman Kalon drinks his portion and dies instantly.
Spine arching back, pink froth, the works.
Clearly a high-grade neurotoxin.
And the immediate aftermath is pure chaos.
Tharn looks completely smug because her rival is dead.
Veln is panicking because he thinks he's the next target.
The security teams are raising their weapons.
It looks like the peace talks are over and the war is starting right there on the sand.
But here is the second major pivot point.
Right, because the Vethari fleet is in orbit.
If MacCaffery arrests Tharn, they open fire.
But if he lets her leave, she escapes justice forever.
So he pulls another incredible legal maneuver. He invokes Regulation 402.
Which is arguably even smarter than the trade audit.
It really is. Regulation 402 deals specifically with Class 1 biohazards.
Okay, break that down for us.
See, if MacCaffery declares this a crime scene, the diplomats have diplomatic immunity.
They can just walk right off the island.
Exactly. But by declaring the horrific death the result of a biological pathogen, he changes the legal framework entirely.
Because health and safety codes override diplomatic immunity.
Yes. He declares the island a full quarantine zone.
Wow.
He isn't detaining them as suspects. That would be an act of war.
Right.
He is detaining them as patients for their own safety.
That is wild.
He traps Tharn on that island, and she can't complain without admitting she knows it's poison and not a virus.
He traps an entire diplomatic envoy with health codes. That is such a lawyer move.
It gives him the time he needs.
So now everyone is stuck on the island, and MacCaffery has to solve the murder before the Vethari fleet in orbit decides to just glass the island to, quote-unquote, contain the virus.
Which is obviously just their excuse to destroy the evidence.
Exactly, and the investigation reveals that the weapon itself is a total puzzle.
The forensics are fascinating. The medical team analyzes the toxin, and they call it a Frankenstein weapon.
I really wanted to dig into that because the breakdown is just wild.
It is.
You've got a vintage Romulan neurotoxin
Combined with a Borgnonite delivery system.
and a Vethari enzyme trigger. What is the actual point of mixing all that tech?
It's camouflage through complexity.
Like a smokescreen.
Exactly. It's designed to create noise. If you find Romulan toxins, your first instinct is to look for Romulan political extremists.
And if you find Borgnonites, you panic and call for a massive task force because you think it's a Borg invasion. So it's basically a jamming signal.
Yes. It's meant to send the investigators chasing ghosts while the real killer slips away.
It distracts from the only part that actually matters.
The Vethari enzyme trigger.
Tharn even tries to lean into the confusion with a frame job,
She sends her own scientist, Dr. Rennick, to assist the investigation.
claiming it must be Romulan terrorists.
And MacCaffery completely plays along.
He invites Rennick right into the lab.
Which seems absolutely crazy until you realize he's just handing Rennick a shovel to dig his own grave.
Because Rennick tries to plant false data and erase the real evidence.
And when he tries to delete the data implicating the Vethari, that very dilution log becomes the concrete proof MacCaffery needs.
While this incredibly tense forensic game is playing out in the lab, the escalation outside is ramping up.
The Vethari ship, the Gilded Hand, is threatening to bombard the island to break the quarantine.
So MacCaffery calls in the cavalry,
The USS Tempest under Captain Chen.
and the USS Valley Forge under Captain McKinney. They lock down the planet.
But MacCaffery gives them very specific, crucial orders.
They aren't to fire first,
No, they're just to paint the Vethari ship with targeting locks.
just to show them the door is closed. It's the ultimate, I dare you.
He's essentially telling them, I won't start this fight, but I will absolutely finish it.
And it creates a total stalemate.
The Vethari can't leave because of the blockade.
And they can't fire because they'll be vaporized instantly by the Federation ships.
It buys MacCaffery those few critical hours he needs to find the physical evidence.
And that evidence leads straight to a warehouse on the island.
His team figures out the Vethari aren't just smuggling medical supplies or ore.
They're smuggling disruptors, arms dealing.
So he sends in Commander Sarah Mackenzie from the JAG Corps.
And Mackenzie is just incredible here.
She walks right up to a guarded warehouse armed with nothing but a search warrant.
And basically talks her way right past the sentries.
She goes in and finds the actual physical manifest that proves everything.
But Tharn realizes the walls are closing in fast.
She detonates a bomb inside her own warehouse to destroy the evidence.
The explosion is massive. Mackenzie barely makes it out.
She ends up with severe burns and a broken leg.
And this right here is the moment where the tone of the mission logs shifts completely.
Oh, absolutely. The entries become very short, very cold.
MacCaffery stops being the polite diplomat and basically becomes a prosecutor.
He describes wiping ash and blood off his hands.
He goes out to the smoking crater where the warehouse used to be.
And he summons Governor Veln.
It's such a cinematic scene. It's dawn, it's raining, smoke is rising from the crater.
Veln shows up with a squad of militia, and he is ready to kill someone.
He wants blood.
And MacCaffery is just standing there, calmly cleaning his glasses.
He hands Veln a shard of the bomb casing.
He tells him to scan it,
It comes up as veridium-laced steel.
which is a proprietary Vethari alloy.
It's undeniable proof that they bombed themselves.
Veln completely loses it.
He wants to march right over to the detention center and execute Tharn on the spot.
And honestly, you kind of get it.
I totally get it. But this is the breaking point. This is the most critical moment of the entire deep dive.
MacCaffery physically grabs Veln and stops him.
They make this blood pact. MacCaffery tells him justice first, then the execution.
That distinction is so incredibly important for the politics of the sector.
If Veln kills her in a blind rage, she becomes a martyr for the Vethari.
They can claim she was murdered by savages and launch a full-scale war.
But if they expose her legally,
Exactly. If they prove her guilt in a court of law, she just becomes a criminal.
a cautionary tale.
MacCaffery convinces Veln that they need to dismantle her reputation before they dismantle her life.
So they set up the final sting.
MacCaffery calls Tharn, and he feigns complete surrender.
He sounds totally defeated. He tells her, "You win. The situation is untenable."
We're lifting the quarantine and transferring oversight to you?
And Tharn, blinded by her own arrogance, buys it completely.
She thinks she's totally outmaneuvered him.
She flies down to the surface to accept his surrender and sign the transfer papers.
And instead, she walks right into a tribunal.
She lands, and MacCaffery's just waiting for her.
He has the manifest Mackenzie saved.
He has the bomb fragment.
And he has the testimony of her own scientist who cracked under the pressure.
The Gilded Hand tries to run, but the Tempest just cripples its engines.
It's checkmate.
The resolution is surprisingly quiet after all that.
Tharn is arrested immediately and put in the brig.
The Vethari ship is forced to leave.
And a new treaty is signed. A real one this time.
The terms are pretty clear. The Kaldari get their autonomy and Federation protection.
And the Vethari face massive sanctions.
But the visual that really sticks with me from the logs is the environmental one.
The smog lifts.
Yeah. MacCaffery describes the orbital stabilizers finally clearing the air.
Revealing a pale, clean blue sky for the first time in decades.
It's a beautiful image of healing. But then right at the very end, the logs take this hard left turn back to the personal.
The human element.
The job is done. The sector is saved.
Yeah.
And what does MacCaffery do?
He goes straight back to his quarters and calls his son Will.
This conversation is just pure gold.
It really is. Here is a man who just dismantled a corrupt trade empire.
Survived an assassination attempt.
And his son is on the view screen complaining because his aunt made pancakes with smiley faces on them.
It's so brilliantly mundane. Will is mad about happy face pancakes, and he's talking about blowing up a science lab with purple foam.
And for the first time in the entire log, MacCaffery laughs.
A real laugh.
And he makes a promise to Will.
He says when he comes home, they're gonna make Kalon skink.
Which is a simple fish soup.
Yeah, I had to look this up. It's a Scottish dish.
It is. Smoked haddock, potatoes, onions, milk. It's peasant food.
Comfort food.
It's thick, it's hearty, and it's inherently messy. And I think that choice is extremely deliberate.
How so?
Think about what he just spent 4 days fighting against. The Vethari represent cold, sterile efficiency.
Tharn was all about clean lines and market forces.
Exactly. Kalon skink is the complete opposite. It's warm, it's human, it's comfort.
That's a really cool connection.
It's almost a rejection of Tharn's entire philosophy.
She wants a universe of pure, ruthless economics.
And MacCaffery is fighting for a universe where a dad can just sit down and have a messy bowl of soup with his kid.
He even promises to take him to a baseball game.
Right. It really highlights the duality of MacCaffery.
He wiped ash and blood off his hands to sign a treaty, then immediately pivoted back to being a father.
It shows that his motivation wasn't some abstract concept of peace.
It was the desire to make the world safe enough for ordinary things.
Soup and baseball.
That really reframes the whole story for me. We tend to think of history being made by guys on pedestals making grand speeches.
But the source material here shows us a man who is tired.
Who smells like sulfur.
Who misses his wife.
And who just happens to be very, very good at finding legal loopholes.
And who has the incredible restraint not to fire when everyone else is screaming for him to pull the trigger.
So if we're going to boil this down to a key takeaway for you listening, what is it?
I think it's that the Tavrik Accord wasn't one with starships blasting each other.
No, it was one with a trade audit, a health code regulation, and a fountain pen.
The sources show that sometimes the most dangerous weapon in the galaxy isn't a photon torpedo.
It's a lawyer who knows exactly where the loopholes are.
And isn't afraid to use them.
It really leaves you with a final thought to chew on.
We look at the stars and imagine these grand natural states of justice just waiting to be uncovered.
But reading this, you have to wonder, in a universe of infinite complexity, is justice a natural state at all?
Or is it something you have to manually build?
Exactly. Yeah. Something you build one stone, one legal clause, and maybe one bowl of soup at a time.
Based on MacCaffery's logs, I'd say it's definitely something you have to build yourself.
And you usually have to get your hands dirty to do it. That's it for this deep dive into the Tavrik Accord. Thanks for listening, and we'll catch you on the next one.